Welcome back to the Green Means Go channel. It's your host, me. Before we get started with the picks, I do want to point you over here to some very, very important news. And that is that the MLB trade deadline is today at 6 p.m., which means that you may pick a guy at noon to hit a home run who gets traded at 3 p.m., and he's not going to play. So please be mindful. Please pay attention to the news today and make sure that your guys are set to start and they're not getting traded. I don't want anybody to miss out on some opportunities. So, I will also do the same, tweet out any relevant news as it relates to my picks. So if we look at last week, July 25th, I was able to hit three, not as good as July 18th here, where we hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or July 4th, where we hit a lot. But the good news about this for me personally was that I have the limited version and I actually played all three of these guys with the limited version. So that felt good to be able to actually cash on all of those picks. If we flip over here to the tracking, we are posting an above 30% ROI still for A team, B team, and for overall. And what is nice is that we've spent, quote unquote, in theory, a total of $8,800. And in just home runs, we've returned $8,869 nice dollars. So that feels good to be positive just in the home runs, which means we have earned, over 2,000. If you just play A team or B team, over $2,000 just in free bets. So all that to say, we're doing well, we're feeling good, and we can take a look at August 1st, which is today. And again, I put this here as a reminder to myself, and I will keep that there for everyone else as we go through these picks. So as we take a look at the overall slate tonight, look at the Ballpark Pal home run percentage. It is mostly a neutral day today. There are parks that are just playing fair and average. With the exception of two parks that look to have a boost, it is going to be a pretty mild day in terms of atmosphere, which is fine. So a lot of this is going to come down to pitching and come down to matchups. So we will jump right into the picks. I'll zoom it in here so we can see better than last time. Okay, so we'll start with the game in Miami. Two decent pitching options today, and I think the home run lines reflect that. So Brian De La Cruz at 870 and Bryce Harper at 630. I think these are both pretty generous and, at worst, fair numbers for these guys in a dome stadium, against good pitching, but I do think that these numbers are solid. So these would be my picks for that game. This next game, I have to target two Tampa Bay hitters. They hit 4 or 5 home runs last night against Johnny Brito, and Carlos Rondon has looked bad. No other way to put it. He has not looked like his old self. He only has 20 innings pitched, which I realize very small sample size, but in those 20, I have not been impressed. So we are going to go with Diaz and Siri, two guys who should lead off and middle of the order for the Tampa Bay Rays tonight. And again, I don't want to target anyone against Zach Eflin. I realize that a lot of guys on New York's team have the power, but we're going to stay away from that tonight. Freddie Peralta and Josiah Gray in Washington. Not a game I mind, but none of the guys jump off the page at me, so it's probably not one I play with the limited version. Carlos Santana at 460 and Keibert Ruiz at 630 would be my picks if I played it. Moving to the game in Pittsburgh, we have Matt Manning versus Johan Oviedo, and again, another game that doesn't jump off the page at me. I am going to target Matt Manning in this just because, Oviedo's sample size is pretty large and he's done well and he's at home. So G-Man Choi and Brian Reynolds, both batting for Pittsburgh, would be my plays today against Matt Manning. Kyle Bradish, I think, is definitely the pitcher that you avoid tonight. So you got to target two guys going up against Rue here. Coming off of an injury, has only pitched 27 games this season and has not been great in any of them. So I think it's a good spot for Baltimore hitters. Ryan Mountcastle and Adley Rutschman, middle of the pack guys, 390, 450, I think are good spots. I know a lot of people are going to go Anthony Santander at 350, which I don't think is a bad number for him tonight. But again, I like to squeeze a little more value out of some of these guys when I can. Next game is probably the better pitching of the night, but it is a decent park situation. Ballpark Pals projecting 3.2 home runs. Spencer Strider's been great, but he's given up 18 homers. So I'm actually going to target Patrick Sandoval tonight and go with two Braves hitters and Austin Riley and Marcell Ozuna. Again, I talk about squeezing value, but I think Riley's one of the hottest hitters in the MLB right now. So above 300 is fine for these conditions, and Ozuna's been good as of late, so 400 looks good as well. So I think you can't go wrong in this game. I think we should see 4 to 5 home runs, so you should return value overall, but those would be my picks. This game in St. Louis is a bit bizarre because McCullough may not start tonight. He's coming off of an injury. Jack Flaherty was projected to be traded, even though it would be Jack's night to start if McCullough can't go with the injury. It's kind of all wonky. So just, again, be mindful of all that. But I am going to target Pablo Lopez in this and go with two guys for the Cardinals, Brendan Donovan and Nolan Gorman at 600 and 480. But again, not a game I play. The game in Chicago, Cincinnati versus Chicago, Mike Tauchman at 630 is fantastic. I know we took him last week at 480. So, in similar conditions against worse pitching, I think 630 is at worst fair. And also Cody Bellinger, who was kind of, on the trading block, it looked like, but it looks like he's going to stay at 470 would be my B team pick. And again, watch this, right? I mean, he could get dealt today and I would have to make a substitution, but these are what I'm rolling with as of 9:30 a.m. Flipping over here to the latter half of the slate, we have a game in Texas. And this is a game I do like. I know I've rated it as a C, but it may actually be one I get to on the limited version. Schulten's only 38 innings pitched, small sample size, but I think it's a good matchup for Texas hitters. Nathaniel Lowe and Robbie Grossman would be my plays. Again, middle of the pack guy and a little bit of value here in a designated hitter of Robbie Grossman. Quintana and Greinke. Now, this one I'm going to talk about for just a second because it's interesting to me. Kansas City is not necessarily a great park to hit at. It is more pitcher friendly. Greinke has looked awful, but he's looked better at home. Quintana, what are we going to say about him? No, 2 games pitched, no sample size to speak of. Ballpark Pal's giving it a pretty friendly rating of 2.5. It's kind of all over the place. I can see this game going either way. If this game turns up to have a 1 home run, I'm not shocked. If this game turns up with 4 or 5, I'm not shocked. So because of that, I looked at the numbers to kind of judge if I wanted to play this. And Brent Batty and Drew Waters at 8-1 and 10-1 tell me that if we only get 1 home run, fine. We played these high numbers and it was fair. If we get 4 to 5 home runs, obviously there's a better chance that one of these guys with crazy value hits one, and I think that this is a great spot. So I've already locked Brent Batty in at 8-1 just because I think his number will drop against Zach Greinke, but I'm okay with playing these guys tonight given all of that information. So reaching a little bit here for some value, but I do think it's a good opportunity. Game in Houston, I'm going as chalky can get with just Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez. Alvarez came off an injury last night, hasn't played in a few months, and he hits home run. So getting him above 300 again at home against a guy who hasn't had a ton of pitching this year is great. We'll roll the dice. Another game that's a little bit bizarre in that the Padres have not named a starter. Ryan Weathers is looking like he should go, but Michael Wacha could be put in. Wacha pitched a simulated full game yesterday. He's coming off a shoulder injury, so kind of a mess. But wouldn't you know, it's a game in altitude. It's a game with 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. It's a game with pitchers who should be giving up home runs. And I can't pick any players because it's not on FanDuel right now. So if you want to follow my Twitter, it's Green Beans Go Betting. I will post my picks once lineups come out on that. I will also post my picks in the comments of this YouTube video so you can check either spot. But be advised because this is probably a game that I do play with the limited version, and I want to make sure that I get those picks out there. This game in Seattle with decent pitching. Again, I've already locked in Mike Ford actually because 680 for Mike Ford is generous. I think that's a great line, a great value play with good conditions. So I've already locked him in. Alex Verdugo would be my second pick at 7.5 to 1. This game I wouldn't touch if you paid me to touch it. So, we're not going to spend too much time, but Jock Peterson and Conforto if I have to record keep. And finally, again, another pitching situation that has not been determined. Ken Waldichuk looks like the guy tonight. Lance Lynn makes his debut for the Dodgers tonight. Has not been great this year, giving up almost 30 home runs, which, let's look. League pitching leader home runs allowed. That is a Google search if I've ever seen one. Lance Lynn has given up the most home runs in the MLB with 28. There you have it. I knew that was a high number. So I will get to this same way as I do with Colorado once a pitching determination has been settled. So, keep your eye out for that. Thank you guys for stopping by. We love Dinger Tuesday. I'm glad you guys have supported me this year. Almost 1,000 views per video, which on this channel that's new is great. So I'm thankful for that. If you guys don't mind subscribing and liking, that will help grow this channel. It will help push this out to new people. I do appreciate that very much. So good luck tonight. Let's hit some dingers. Let's have some fun, and we will see you next Tuesday.